Hello. If you could only carry one worship flag in your flag bag, this would be it. We're talking about the color gold. It's not just beautiful, it really carries the glory of God and the prayers of the saints, the presence of the King. Today, we're talking about gold in our color series right after the bump. If you're new to the live stream, I'm Andrea York with Catch the Fire Worship Flags, and this is the Fan into Flame live stream. It's your place to become the worshiper that God is looking for. It's inspired by John 4:23, where we explore every kind of worship related topic so that we can worship in spirit and in truth. And if you're a creative worshiper, then this space is for you. I'd love it if you would like and subscribe so that you'll know when we post more videos. Now, we're continuing our color series today, and we're going with the color gold. There's so much. Oh, I've just realized you can actually see me with my glasses on. Uh, today, uh, today we're talking about gold, and what I forgot to put on was my necklace, but I wanted to let you know I have these big gold earrings. Now coming close. Can you kind of see this? I was at a conference this weekend, and I'm still not sure if they match what our topic is, but I saw a lady with fabulous style, and she was wearing these earrings, and I just stopped her and I said, "Hey, I really love your earrings," and then she took them off and gave them to me. And so I'm like, I'm just not deciding if I have the that boldness in how I look to actually pull these off, because but I did actually put them on because I knew that I was doing the live stream today, and we're talking about the color of gold. Now, gold is one of those things, one of those flags that I always travel with. I have them in my regular flexion pole style, the classic style, and I also have travel poles with the quiver that fold up and I can put in my carry-on. So I take them with me. If you, I'm curious about what your experience with the color gold. We're going to talk a little bit about setting the foundation of our color series, and why I think gold, particularly gold worship flags, are just a staple and essential for really any flag bag because they are so versatile. And if you're watching, I'm going to try to of the chat. It's really hard for me to do. Hi, Holly. I'm going to try to keep track of the chat as much as I possibly can, because I mean, I love having these conversations with you. This is the way that we get to talk about things of the Lord and talk about our experiences. I present the topic, and then I really do engage with you. And so, if you're tuning in, please let me know where you're tuning in. Say hi and engage in the conversation, because it is a conversation. And we're talking about why God color the gold color, which is a metallic. So what is it about this color that is part of his language? Right. So the color theory basics is like gold. There's like different kinds. There's like a harsh brassy gold, or there's the spun gold. There's its warmth, its light, its reflection. Like true gold, you can see a reflection. And then so there's really it's not a surprise when we think about. I'm actually just going to post. Uh, See, I appreciate you guys being so gracious to me as I try to do it on my own. Okay, we're gonna show that. So there is our gold, the meanings of gold, what we're going to be kind of talking about. And we're talking about like those theories. Now, if we the color theory, now when we talk about gold and think about gold, and why does God use gold as to reflect his glory? And it's about gold has something that is very shiny and it mirrors the viewer. So it will mirror or reflect off of light. So it requires light. So what God is, he's glory, and we reflect his glory. And there's a quick comparison between like an earthly meaning. So color theory is not Christians are not the only ones that discuss or think about color theory. Uh, there is is a worldly definition, but we know that colors are spiritual. God did create, he was the creator, and he created everything. And so some of the things that we see on earth is association with its emotion or a style. Gold is often reflected or to indicate like a wealth or success. There's royalty in the celebration. Think about like the jubilee, like 50 years married, that we would celebrate with a gold kind of color theme. It's tied to luxury or status. Now that's not the only thing. It's not actually, we don't reject that in our with our spiritual definition, but we know in the heavenly realm that gold is actually used far more than just luxury. And I guess it is luxury when we think of being, it's luxurious to be in the presence of God. And that is the heavenly realm. Uses gold is used for glory or divine presence. It's because when we think about Revelation 2:1, these streets are made of gold. It's obviously something very opulent. But in heaven's economy, it is very, it's not, I was going to say it's not exclusive. It is, I think, something that is exclusive in the divine realm, but it is abundant. There's not a limitation. When we think of gold on earth and how much maybe gold you're amassing in terms of wealth, there's a limitation to it. But in our heavenly and divine reflection of gold, there is no limitation. And so this is this idea of abundance, that when we are enthroned in the presence of God, like there's just really this often this reflection, and there was an experience that I've had. If you've had any experiences being in the golden presence of the Lord, I would just drop it in the chat. I'll be watching to see if I can catch any of your stories. But I know one of the stories that I've had is when I was in worship in a church in California, that I was there, and we had there was there was something so full in the presence. It was robust. That's the only thing I can describe. It was like it felt like a robust presence. And I was worshiping. My eyes were closed when I was worshiping, and then when I opened my eyes, there was what looked like dust. And when you looked at the dust, they really sparkled. And so it was like it was what we would call a glory cloud or glory dust, direct from heaven. And it was just this shimmery, uh, this substance that didn't seem to stay or sit, but filled the air, filled the presence. It was just the manifest glory of God. And that's different. There's something sacred about that. That's different than the opulence of the earthly realm and how we perceive gold as a luxury piece, but there's not a limitation. What we have and what we can enjoy in the color in the spiritual realm is this abundance of his presence, and it's the abundance of his glory. His glory is in his presence. So when we use gold flags, like I said, these are probably the most used flags of mine, because they're so versatile. We're not just declaring a pretty color, we're aligning with heaven's language of glory and his holiness. Right, the color activates. There's a spiritual perception and a sensitivity in worship, and that's why we use uh, colors. That's why we're going through our color series, is developing that language. Developing, when I say color is a language, I really mean that color is a language. There's something that is highly prophetic about how we use worship flags. And we're this is why we're doing the color. We really want to perceive more of God. We don't want to be, as Paul writes when he's talking about the spiritual gifts, that we don't want to be ignorant about things of the spirit. We want to be aware of and perceiving what God is saying, and sensitive in worship. So let's shift gears a little bit right now, and think about talking about something deeply spiritual and yet completely practical. How color awakens our spiritual senses in worship. And you don't have to be highly spirit sensitive to actually feel that. I remember when I've talked about this before, but in in a science fair experiment that I did when I was little, or in grade 4, I think that's when we did them. I had a very intense interest in color and the effect, the physiological effect on the body. And so I would, as much as I would do heart rate, I would take temperatures. I tried to do as many physical tests as I could when someone was kind of immersed in a color. But like, so I, grade 4 student, understood that color had an effect on us. There is something that it awakens our spiritual senses. And if you use gold worship flags, or what have you experienced at all, again, hi, it's going to be, Holly, it's totally going to be, she writes, it's going to be amazing in the throne room, which is so true. uh, so God designed us to respond emotionally and spiritually. This is what I love, because my grade 4 self understood that we respond emotionally, physically, and then we respond spiritually to what's being said. So colors stir us, some negatively, some positively. Think about how red stirs passion, blue calms the heart. There's not accidental, and it's really by design, because God, he is so orderly in all that he does. He's such a marvelous God that we serve. So in worship, color becomes a tool of the Spirit. So if we really want to understand what the Spirit is doing, we really do take it as a responsibility to understand how God is speaking and what we are actually communicating in the Spirit as well. So it becomes a tool to, like, we understand, and we can open our hearts. It heightens our sense of awareness. When I'm teaching a workshop, one of the exercises that we do is we do a color activation, and where we take different colored flags and have someone sitting in the circle with a blindfold on, and helping them perceive. So it's a practice. If you feel like you're not very good at sensing the color, this is a practice to do, is to grab a bunch of flags or colors in front of you. If you can do this by yourself, it is better with a partner. But one of the activations and activities that you can do is just, with your eyes closed, grab a color and kind of drape it over you, or in somehow lay it on over your physical presence, and just ask the Lord, what are you saying with this color? And we learn and we discern, and we allow Holy Spirit to teach us in this. And so it's not just gold, but that would be all of the colors. But gold really makes us aware of his majesty and his glory. So when you do that, and gold is being used, then you will have a greater sense of his glory. You'll have, either it'll almost be like a warm flushing. Now, it happens differently with everyone else. Actually, I don't want to put my experience onto yours. But if you experience something like that, let me know what has happened for you. Let me see, where am I on my notes? I don't want to miss anything. You're inviting, it's not just, again, we're not talking just about color. We're really talking about what God is saying in the Holy Spirit realm. Let that play a role. So one of the things that gold means is glory. So we first get that in Psalm 119, or 19 verse 1, that the heavens reflect his glory. That it talks about the way, like, gold reflects light. We only see gold because of his reflection. It is, everything that we have is really as a result of what he allows us to perceive. It's this activity. And our flags, there we have our gold flags. Those are probably the most popular. I think they're the second most purchased flag. And using flags, yeah. Let's put this one up there. She's saying that using flags can have different purposes, right? We have different flags for different purposes. It talks really about the incense and prayers of incense. Revelation 5:8 is the golden bowls of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. Isn't that such a beautiful Isn't that such a beautiful idea? Is that he actually collects our prayers are so precious that he collects them in a golden bowl. That is that if that's not when we think about if gold in our earthly understanding as gold as opulence or extravagance, that's we can actually think God is he thinking about our prayers in such a way? The divine reign of Christ, we know that we serve a God that he he has established the kingdom and he is coming back for his people. It's associated with kingship. There's something when we just saw the inauguration of King Charles in England a couple of years ago, they place a gold crown on his head because gold really does it represents in the spiritual as well as in the natural, it represents something of glory, of a kingship, of majesty. Esther, when she was speaking to the king, that she would, that she, when sorry, I'm, my words are falling out of my mouth in the wrong order. But when a golden scepter was extended to Esther, that she was able to come into the presence of the king and make her request. Now, Hebrews tells us that we can come to the throne with boldness, that he actually is extending, if we want to take it that imagery, he's extending a golden scepter to us, that we are able to come boldly into his presence and receive his favor. It shifts this spiritual atmosphere. We invite the glory of God to come in. And we were just having at our church, we just had a work, a conference where it was an inner healing conference and it was some deliverance. And one of the things that I remember thinking about was we can go to battle with as warfare. We can go to battle against the enemy, the dominion of darkness. But how much easier it is if that we just invite God's glory. And if we think about God's glory, like the Shekinah glory, we talk about in Isaiah, that there's the Shekinah or the Doxa glory, which is represented by by gold, the color gold, is there's a weight to it. So when you hold something in your hand, I don't have, if I hold my water mug in my hand, there's a weight to it. But the glory of God, there is a weight to it, and there's not a lot that I remember from grade school science, but I do remember this, the law of displacement. Then when something of a heavier substance fills an atmosphere, what was there is displaced. It's the law of displacement. And so we could go to warfare in all sorts of manner of violent activity, or we can invite the glory of God to come in and the doxa of God, which is why I believe that gold is the most versatile of all of the worship flags that we have. That you could possibly have in your flag bag, and it's not a surprise that it is our number 2 best seller. The first one is white shimmer. But gold, no matter kind of if you are not prepared for what the worship set is and you don't know going to be what's going to be played or what the worship team is working on, if you have gold, I guarantee that no matter what in that worship set, that gold is going to be a very applicable worship flag, that you would be in tune and in alignment with what the worship team is already doing. If you have gold flags and that's been your experience, please share, let us know. I'd love to have to let you I'd like to hear your comments about this, because it's not just what I've been working on. Color is so, like, here we have, you can see my 2 gold um rosettes where we've been working on because it's so popular. It really is one of my favorite colors. And I just want to show you, I love these color series. I want to thank you for watching. And if you are interested in our what we have available, here's, if you go to our website and just take a look at our gold flags, we have about 14. There's our standard flag, a couple of multi-layer worship flags, and then we also have a flag bag if you are interested in getting a bundle and then saving just a little bit more. Now, I want to let you know again, if you tune in next time, we're going to be talking about the prophetic nature of worship flags, or worship flags prophetic. So that is next week. Stay tuned for that. I want to say thank you for watching, and let's just can I just pray with you and share God's heart. So, Father, I just thank you for the viewers that have watched, or watching with us, and will watch. We thank you that you are so creative, that you have given us so much beauty to look at, and that gold really reflects. It's a reflection of what we see, and it is going to be glorious in heaven. Lord, I pray that the weight of your glory would come upon those that are watching, those that worship, that we would be able to discern your presence. But Lord, using the law of displacement, we ask that your glory comes into every area of our life where there's challenges, where we need to push out the darkness, and we invite your presence, that we would be very, very aware of it. Lord, teach us even more that these are 20-minute talks, but you have an infinite amount of revelation that you would desire to give to us in regards to your nature, how you speak, and the layers in which you speak. Lord, there's so much for us to learn, and it's exciting that we get to partner with this together. I pray a blessing on the fire catchers who are watching. Thank you in Jesus' name. So again, don't forget to tune in next time. Thanks for tuning in today. Have a blessed uh, rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you next week. Fan